Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Life Enhancement and Development, where the CEO is none other than Dr. Cassandra Washington. And as you know, I am Bernadette Hicks Kelly. I am the life coach of effective transformation. On tonight, Dr. Washington will attempt to join us later. She has something else pending on her schedule. So if she's able to join us a little bit later, she will join us later. In the meantime, welcome, welcome, welcome. Before we get started, I'm going to ask you to like and share, like and share, like and share. Come, as we say, come on in, come on in, come on in. Go get your friends, go get your buddies, go get your neighbors, go get your enemies. We are excited to have you here on tonight. We have some amazing information for you. So I just want to recap a little bit on the last week. So last week, we talked about a journey to personal growth. And that's the series that we're working on, is a journey to your own personal growth. So just to give you a little bit of information, a lot of times we have people on here, but we want to talk to you. We want you to have some input on some things. So if you're making comments during this live, after the live, if not later today, later this afternoon, then first thing early in the morning, you will receive this wonderful ebook. But what do you got to do to get this ebook? You're going to have to participate. So yes, put your comments in chat. We want to talk to you. We don't want to just talk by ourselves. So again, let's just recap on last week. A journey to personal growth. It is time to grow. It is time to mature, and we're going to transform ourselves. Not anybody else. We're going to work on ourselves. So I want you to point to yourself and say, tonight it's about me. Tonight it's about me. I am transforming myself. So we gave you some steps, 1, 2, 3 in this ebook of the things that you could do to start making those changes, to transform into the best you that you can be. It's time to be the best you. Be the absolute best you. So if you 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, it is not too late to be the best you. Okay, so that's what I strive for. Again, if you did not participate, I believe it was 2 weeks ago at this time, you missed out on this ebook. But guess what? We love y'all. We love our audience, and we will still send this to you because we want you to have a notebook. And every week as we're doing these sessions, we want to send this to you as long as you're participating. You got to participate. You got to chat with us, and we want to send this over to you. So we will send you last week to go along with this week. So get your notebook together. And we want you to be intentional. Be intentional about your growth. Be intentional about your journey. So on tonight, when I tell you, we got some good stuff for y'all tonight. So tonight, we're talking about your foundation. So when you're talking about change and growing, you're going to have a wonderful, wonderful foundation. You know how it is when you have properties, and you've seen properties built on weak foundations, and the storm come and the rain come and it washes it away. And you know, we have these trees in the backyard, and we're experiencing that now. You know, we got all these storms coming, and hail and knocking window panes out, and trees falling and homes falling over. And some of them had good foundation, but guess what? They still got knocked over. So we're going to talk about if you get knocked over. Hi, Ira. How are you? Nice to have you on again. Yes, you're going to get your ebook again tonight. Participate in chat. So if you get knocked over during the wind and the storm, come on back. It's time to rebuild again. So we're going to talk about rebuilding, and we're going to talk about building a strong foundation. So I like to put things, and we're coming from biblical principles. So when we're talking, anytime you're talking to myself or Dr. Cassandra Washington, who is the CEO of Life Enhancement and Development, we're always building on biblical principles. That's all we have. That's all we know. So everything that we present to you is based on biblical principles. So let's talk about this foundation. Now, as the natural, again, I tell you, I am a physical person that needs to see things physically. I need to touch it. I need to rub on it for it to make sense to me. I'm visual. I got to see things. So I have an architect friend, And I called her and I said, I'm talking about foundations and give me something good. So we had this whole discussion about, what foundations are. And so, y'all, I want to share some of the information that she sent to me, and we're going to compare a little bit tonight. So what she sent me, she said, building a foundation involves several steps. And so I'm going to share some of those steps with you. She said, first, before she builds anything, she got to determine the type of foundation she needs. So if she's going to build a warehouse, it needs a certain foundation. A 3-bedroom home need a certain foundation. A 5-bedroom home need a certain foundation. And then a 10-bedroom home need a certain foundation. Or she's going to build an elementary school. She's going to build a university. All of these things have certain foundations. So that's what I'm going to challenge you today. As you have your vision, and if you're dreaming small, you just need a small foundation. But if you got a big dream, that means you're going to have to dream big, and you're going to have a big foundation. And so you got to dig deep. So let's talk about digging deep. So that was one of the things. So let me go back to her thing. She said, when you're building a foundation, common types include shallow foundations. So if you're not big in a big structure or anything, you don't need a real deep foundation. You can just have a little shallow foundation. But if the higher you go up, the deeper you got to go down. So that means you need a strong foundation if you're going high. So, and when you see these skyscrapers and all that in New York and Chicago and Atlanta, all of those places, they've gone deep. It's something deep down there before they can go up. And that's how we are. If we're trying to dream big and we got some major things that we're going to cover in this lifetime, we got to get this foundation part right first. And when I talk about foundation, what am I talking about when I say foundation? Foundation is your psychological. Let's get this psychological. And Cassandra, when she's on here, she's going to explain that more. You got to get your psychological self ready. What is psychological readiness? It says psychological readiness involves your shift of your mindset. You got to shift your mind to say, I'm going deeper. I'm getting bigger. I got a broad vision. So psychological readiness is now you got to change your mind. So let's give an example. If you've been living in a small town and you want a multi-million-dollar business and you said, well, I want to move it out of this small town and I want to move it across seas. So you got to shift your mindset because you can't run a business in another country the same way you run a business in a small town. So that's what we talk about, getting, psychological readiness. And then you got to have emotional readiness because everybody not ready to run a business, because when you run a business, when you start a ministry, emotions are tied. So you got to get your emotions under control. You can't be sensitive because you're going to run into all different type of people, and you got to be emotionally ready to handle your growth. So that's what I said, get your emotions together, get your psychological. So when we talk about building this foundation and building a strong foundation, this is what we're talking about. Getting ready psychologically, getting ready emotionally. And then some of the other things to talk about, embracing change. Get ready. You got to embrace that change is going to happen. For example, for those of us who are getting older, change is happening. Our hair is graying. We're getting a little thicker than we were when we were 20 and 19. And so change is happening. Instead of us trying to fight change and I don't want to do this and I don't want to look this way and I don't want to have no wrinkles. But guess what? The older you get, I pray that you're getting wiser, because all those wrinkles are saying is this person has gotten wiser. They've gotten older. And so embrace the changes happening. I'm okay with being 54. I'm looking forward to being 55. I'm excited that 60 is coming and 70 is on its way. Why? Because I'm embracing the fact that change is coming. I'm excited about change because I can do things. I had a friend and she was 75 and she said, Bernadette, when you turn 75, you can do whatever you want to do. And I'm looking forward to 75 because she said, when you turn 75, you can do whatever you want to do. Don't even worry about nothing else. So I'm excited. I'm excited about 75 is coming. Again, strong foundation. So one of the other things that my girlfriend shared with me about this strong foundation, she said, engage professionals. When you are building, when I got ready to purchase a home, I considered having a home built. I had to engage professionals. So I didn't know about, she said, I said, well, what does professionals do? They make sure that you're licensed. They make sure that your structure is engineered properly. They make sure that you have the proper architect design. So that's how we are. When you're getting ready to grow, and you're growing in your vision, you're growing in your mindset, make sure you got the right people. These are professional people. And yes, sometimes they are psychiatrists, and sometimes they're psychologists, and sometimes they're the pastor, sometimes they're the neighbors. But what are professional people? People who know more than you know, going in the direction that you're going and using good sense. Good sense. Everybody old don't have good sense. Just because you mature don't mean you have good sense. Just because you own a business don't mean you have good sense. So make sure when you're engaging these professionals that they're going in the direction that you're going. And when I say that, when you're working with myself and Dr. Cassandra Washington, if you don't want your business built on biblical principles, we are not the people that you need to be working with. We're not a good profession for you. You're going to have to go work with someone who don't believe in biblical principles. So that's why we're saying when you're building your foundation, make sure you're partnering and you're working with the right people. And then one of the other things she said, when she get ready to build on that foundation, she said, you got to test the soil. Go test the soil before you build on the foundation, because sometimes if the soil is weak, you've seen these homes and they said all of a sudden the home just caving in. There's a hole that just opened up in the home just caved in. Well, what happened to the foundation was weak. There was something going on underneath there. So make sure you're strong before you start building something. If you're building a ministry, make sure you're strong. Don't build a ministry if you're weak. You're not ready. Don't build a business if you're weak. Make sure you're strong. And what's a strong foundation when you're talking about building a business? Get some help. Get some help. You're going to need some help for the things that you don't know. That's a strong foundation. So we say testing the soil. Testing the soil in a business means that I am going to make sure that what I don't know, I hire someone else to do that part for me. Don't go in there trying to build. I can't build and put up boards and all this kind of stuff on the house. I can't do that part. All I can tell you is I like it. That's all I can do. So I have to partner with someone. But before they build my house, I need you to test this soil. Make sure this is good ground. If you're going to partner with someone for your business, make sure this is good ground. Don't just partner with people because they got checks. Don't just partner with people because they got money, because you're going to need some integrity. You're going to need some people that's intelligent. You're going to need some honest people. Don't move so much. Don't move too fast just because they showed up with a check. No, make sure that they are good soil. Okay, so I'm going to read some of these comments over here. So I see from Ira said, hi there. I'm great. How are you? Hey, Ira, welcome for coming on. And we are great. And Ira also said, look at things from all angles. She said, look at things from all angles. That's exactly right. Again, that's a part of that soil testing. Look at things from all angles. Sometimes your perspective is off. So get someone else to look at it. I know sometimes when I'm considering going into business or considering doing something different, I might call Cassandra. I might call my sister. I might call my husband and say, look at this with me. Let's make sure I'm making a good decision. I had a friend, I was having a product made over in Africa, and I had a friend that was going to Africa. I said, when you get there, confirm for me that this person is real. I don't want it to, because everybody you're trying to do business with across seas somewhere may not be real. So again, that test the soil. Make sure they're honest. Make sure they have some integrity. Make sure that they represent you well. If you're going to partner with someone in business, make sure they represent you well. If you got a person that's going to be selling your idea, selling your service, selling your product, make sure that they represent you well. Because if they do not represent you well, that speaks to who you are. Who you are. You know how it is when our children leave from home and you say, don't go out there and have me looking crazy. Don't get up there and act like you don't know what you're doing and have me looking crazy. Why? Because they're a representation of who we are. And that's our product. And that's our service and our salespeople. They are a representation. My office manager, you're a representation. So if you answer the phone crazy, you say I'm crazy. You say that's who I am, and that's not who I am. So as I said, dig deep, build a wonderful, strong foundation. Take your time and build a good foundation. Again, talking to my friend, and she said, when you finish doing all that, Bernadette, and you test the soil, she said, before you move and before you begin to dig, she said, take your time. What they have to do is they take their time and they move the soil carefully. I didn't know that. I just look when we're looking at it from the street or the road, just look like they out there just digging. She said, no, we've taken our time. And we know where to dig, and we know how to dig. We know if it rains, which side to dig, in case it rains, so that it doesn't wash all the soil back into the hole and the place that you've dug in already. So that's something is go out and get people smarter than you. Don't work with the people all the time that know as much as you. If you know as much as I know, we're not going to be a good team. I need somebody smarter than me. Well, maybe I'm not going to meet that person, but they've written books. They have CDs, they have DVDs, YouTube just about done took away all of our excuses. So if you really want to learn something from someone, you can just go straight to YouTube. And we talked about that last week. We talked about taking responsibility for your change, taking 100% responsibility. So we're tying all of this in together. And then when you're building, I learned this word today. I didn't know this word. And it said form work. Form, FORMWORK, form work. So what I was calling when they build homes, the frame, what an architect or a builder call that, they call it form work, which is the mold wherein fresh concrete is poured and formed. That's when the frame form work. Again, I would still want to call this frame, but it's not called frame. It's called form work. So when you see these poles and steel poles, and sometimes she says sometimes it's a steel pole, sometimes it's wooden poles. It just depends on what type of structure you are building. Sometimes you need people stronger than you. So if you're the person and you don't know how to say no, then you need someone stronger than you to work with you, that when it's time to say no, that strong person can say, no, that's not how we're going to do business. No, so find that person that's strong in the area that you're weak in. So if you're not a great writer, find you a strong person that's strong in writing, so that when things are put out, it sounds professional. It looks good. Now, I'm not great at producing and drawing and all this kind of stuff and graphics. I have to hire someone for that. I'm not good at that. I know that's my weakness. But find someone that's strong. And yes, it may cost you some money, but I promise you it's going to be worth it in the end. It's going to be worth it in the end. So the other thing that she shared with me is reinforcement. Well, what is reinforcement when you're building? Reinforcement when you're building is after you've poured the concrete and after you've put the poles up, then you come back and cover it up. They said that dirt that you pulled out, you bring that dirt back and you cover it up, and you now have reinforced it. Or if it doesn't look strong enough, you re-pour some more concrete. And you got to reinforce it. And that's how we are. We talked about the storms. In the natural sense, storms came through and they blew homes down, they blew trees down. And so now when it's time to rebuild, so maybe your first dream didn't work. Maybe the first business didn't work. Maybe the ministry fell in, but now it's time to rebuild. So this time you got to reinforce what you did before. And what is reinforced? When we're talking about reinforced in the natural, that means we got to do something to make it stronger. We got to do something to make it stronger. But when we're talking about in the sense of growth, mentally growing and spiritually growing, that means we got to go deeper than what we did before. So again, I told you I'm visual, right? So when you first start your business, maybe it took this type of shovel. And you just had to dig just a little bit to start your business. You didn't have to go deep. You just had to go, and look, I got some for y'all tonight. And so maybe you had a little bucket right here. And so you just had to dig a little bit and you got what you needed. and your business grew and your ministry grew and your team grew, and this is the shovel you needed. That's all you needed. But now you're trying to go somewhere deeper. Now you're responsible for billions of dollars, and millions of dollars is coming into your hands, and you are responsible for it. So that little shallow stuff that you did before, that's not going to work. So you got to go out and get you a deeper shovel, a bigger shovel, because now it's time to dig deep. I mean, you got to go in deep this time. And so this is my demonstration. And I put this on my board. I hang this in the house on my vision board, because this my year 2023. And if I had thought about it, I'd put that on here. This 2023, y'all, I am digging deep. I hope you are digging deep. And so ask me, Bernadette, what you mean by digging deep? When I say I am digging deep in 2023, I mean I'm not taking a whole bunch of calls. I don't have time for a whole bunch of mess. If you're not getting on the Bernadette train, then you're going to have to get off. If I haven't given you a ticket, you are not welcome on the train. I'm not going to be emotionally tied to no weak, broke down stuff, broke down people. No, I'm setting everybody free. I'm setting that stuff free. I am digging deep, dig deep. Don't be shallow when something don't work out and you fall apart and go get in the bed and cover your head. It's too late. We don't have time to cover our head and fall out. For me, again, we talk about if you 40 and 50, 60 and 70, now sit down and think, do you really have 70 more years to get it right? Probably not. Do you have another 50 years to lay in the bed and cover your head and second guess? Probably not. Do you really have another 40 years that you want to waste? Let's bring it in and make it even simpler. This time to next year, do you want to say, I accomplished nothing? I did absolutely nothing. I have nothing to show for my year. I didn't even grow a little bit. I didn't even open up another bank account. I came into 2023 with $20 in the bank. I left 2023 with $19 in the bank. I started off with 2024 with $18 in the bank. Do you really, really want that to be said about you? Do you really want to say you in your 60s? In your 50s, in your 40s, in your 70s, in your 80s, and you have nothing to show? But look, we're not having this conversation for depression. Oh, it ain't no time to get depressed. We don't have time to get depressed. It's time to dig deep. You got to dig deep. And there's a scripture, I can't remember. I believe it's in Ecclesiastes. And it's like, when you find work to do, do it with all your might. It says, do it with all your might. What is doing it with all about? Everything that's in me gonna work. All that I have, I'm gonna make it work. So if that means I gotta get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, oh, you're not gonna dig deeper than me. That's what I'm saying. And you're not comparing yourself to nobody but yourself. I want you to get up in the mirror and talk to yourself like, self, you're not doing this no more. You're not gonna wake up in the morning and still be dealing with high blood pressure. You're not going to do this no more. You're not going to wake up and be dealing with diabetes. Steph, you're going to dig deep. You're going to dig deep. And you're going to make this thing work. You're going to figure this weight thing out. You're going to figure this self-control thing out. You're going to get disciplined. That's what we have to do. That's when I talk about this shovel, sometimes I go in and I just pick it up. I'm just waving like, I'm not going to be shallow no more. I've been shallow long enough. If your bank account don't say what you needed to say or you wanted to say, it's time to go back and dig deep. Erin said, you have to keep evaluating yourself. That's what this is. This shovel is to remind you, evaluate today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow already gone. Evaluate today. Evaluate the hour. Evaluate the minute. Is this working for me right now? But when I tell you, if you're going anywhere, you're going to have to build a strong foundation. Thank you, Orlando, for joining us on today. We're excited to have you here. Our CEO, Dr. Cassandra Washington, she's hoping to join us later. She's handling some business on today. Again, thank you for joining Life Enhancement and Development. We are excited to have you here. We are talking about building a strong foundation for your ministry, for your visions, for your goal, for your family, for your children, because that's what we're talking about on today and that's what you're going to need to go to the next level. Again, I was talking to this architect, and these are some of the other things that she talked about. She said, pouring concrete. So when we talk about pouring concrete, we know it's a powdery substance when you first look at it. It just looks like powder. Don't look like it could be anything. Just look like powder. If you put it in your hand, it's gray. It ain't cute. It ain't pretty. It ain't nothing. In its unrefined state, it's nothing. It just looks like gray powder, just dust. Don't look like it could do anything. But when you put it where you want it, and you surround it in a hole, or you immerse it around something, or whatever you want to be strong, or whatever you want to hold, and then you add something to it. And what do we normally add to it? And do you have to add water to concrete? And I got a little something in my water. But when you add that water and you stir it up a little bit, it changes the texture. And then it does something that it was always intended to do. When you're looking at it, it don't look like it can do anything. It don't look like it can make anything. But when you add the right ingredient, which is water, and you just stir it up and let it sit a minute, give it time to settle. And by this time in our life, it's time for us to get settled. We've been stirred, we've been poured, and we don't look like what we are. We don't look like what we really made of. If you hold us up, we probably would just fall apart. If you just kind of do this, we'd fall apart. But now we past falling apart, y'all. We past whatever that secret ingredient is. It's not water for us. It's God. It's Christ. It's the Holy Spirit talking to us. That's our ingredient that we need. When you pour him over into us, we become solid. We become settled. And it's time to be solid on what you want. It's time to be settled on what you want to do. You shouldn't still be out here trying to figure out, well, I don't know who I am. I'm trying to figure that out. It's time to be settled. Get that settled. Get that settled in the next 48 hours. You're going to get that settled in the next 72 hours. It's time to know who you are. Your mind should be processing as if you are concrete. You are strong. You're strong enough to hold this vision together. You're strong enough to hold this ministry together. You're strong enough to hold it together, but you missing one ingredient. The only ingredient that you're missing is talking to God, putting it before Christ, asking the Holy Ghost to come in and help you. You are strong. You're just missing that one ingredient. And when you get that ingredient, stir yourself up. Don't wait for someone to come and stir you up and make you do something. Stir yourself up. There is something so amazing inside of you. Concrete is just dust. It's just powder. But put it together and compact it and seal it. It's amazing. It can hold up anything. And that's who you are. That's what your foundation is made of. You can hold up anything. You're strong enough to hold your family up. You're strong enough to hold your brother and your sister, your neighborhood and your community. You're strong enough to rebuild again. You just got to believe that you have the power to do it. And what do? Y'all, I told y'all I'm visual now. I have this little ball. Inside of this ball, when you hit it, you see how that light come on? So when I'm not feeling my best, I find this little ball, and I just hit it. And I remember there's some power on the inside of me that tell me I can do the impossible. When I'm struggling and I don't know what to do, and I don't know if this is where I'm supposed to be, and I'm second guessing, or should I be the leader? Should I be the person in the back? But if you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that God has called you to be the leader, it's time to wake up the power inside of you. I tell my friend Cassandra, when she was talking about doing workshops and videos, I told her, I said, girl, I'd be like Sylvester. It's a little cartoon that Sylvester used to say, I fell apart. And on the cartoon, he said, I got to pull myself together. And that's what we have to do when we feel like we falling apart, and we like that little cat on the cartoon, Sylvester. And we just, as soon as someone tells us, we got to do this, and God say, okay, I'm sending you out into the world. I'm sending you out to build a business. I'm sending you out to minister all over the world. We just fall apart. But you got to look in the mirror and say, all right, girl, all right, sir, it's time to pull yourself together. And some power inside of you waiting to get out. So pull yourself together. Get your shovel out and dig deep inside of you. There is some amazing, amazing stuff inside of you that got to come out. Somebody is waiting on you. So let's go back to this architect, the things that she told me. And she said, and when you pour your concrete, give it time to settle. Now they call it curing. They call it curing. So give your concrete time to cure. And cure also means to settle. And when you let that concrete settle, and then I've seen them with these sticks or poles or whatever, and then they smooth it out, and the top be so smooth. They don't want you to touch on it. They don't want you to put no type of prints on it. That concrete be smooth because it has time to settle. And that's where we are right now. It's time to settle. It's time to settle who you are. It's not time to second guess it anymore. It's time to settle. It's time to settle on your calling. It's time to settle on your mind. It's time to settle on what your next step. It's time to settle. Stop second guessing. Well, maybe it's not me. Well, maybe I'm not strong enough. It's time to believe in yourself. Believe in your decision making. Stop waiting for someone to tell you what to do. You are smart enough. Get somewhere by yourself. Get quiet, get settled, and the answer is inside of you. Just believe the answer. Believe the answer. The problem is that we are fighting the answer. Thank you, Orlando. Orlando said, you got that right. Stop fighting the answer. Get quiet. The answer is inside of you. Everything you need, the Bible don't lie. Everything we need, he already put inside of us. I promise you, everyone that you need to work with, you probably already met them somewhere along the line. You wasn't brave enough to talk to them. You wasn't brave enough to ask them the question, but get settled and become brave enough to do it. Become settled enough that you read again. Become settled enough that you educate yourself all over again. And guess what? You don't have to go to school and pay a whole lot for a university. Education sometimes is free now. When I say free, it doesn't mean that you don't have to purchase the books. Yes, go purchase the book. When was the last time that you read a book? When was the last time you wrote a notes to better you? When was the last time you read a leadership book and changed how you felt? When was the last time you read a story and said, okay, God, I know you speaking to me. I know we read the Bible. And there's stories in the Bible that can tell us, okay, I want to be like Solomon. Solomon said, I need wisdom. Are you asking for wisdom? Go back and read the story. And just like Solomon, there's some everyday people right here with us that has wisdom, great wisdom. They may not have wisdom like Solomon, but they got wisdom. Go and read their story. Go and listen to their YouTube. But don't go to bed tonight doing the same thing you did all this week, the last 2 weeks, the beginning of the year. I want you to do one thing. I'm going to challenge you to do one thing tonight different. Do something different before you go to bed. Read a book. Read one line. Read one page. If you're a writer and you know you should be writing a book, write one page. Write one sentence. Do something different. Get settled, get settled, get settled, get settled. Okay, and the last thing she taught, she said after they built the frame, the inspector has they've laid the concrete, they put up the frame, and the building is complete. She said the next thing they do is before anybody can move in the building, guess what? It has to be inspected. The inspector got to come out and say, it's done. It's good. You followed instructions. Because if you don't follow instructions, you can't move. And so God has provided us instructions. Follow the instructions that he has given you. Follow the directions that he has given you, and it will be well. It'll be well. All we have to do is follow the instructions. Now, I'm just going to go over here and read some of these comments. Aaron said, preach. Aaron, I'm not preaching tonight, but I am certainly encouraging. And those of you, thank you again for getting on and putting in your comments. We want to remind you that there is an ebook going with this series. We have a series going on. And this series that we have going on is called Rebuilding, a journey to personal growth. We're talking about growth and growing. And with growing comes change. And the first thing that you need to do to grow is first make up your mind that you're ready to grow and you're ready to do something different. And making up your mind is not enough. You're going to have to move and do something. Again, for someone that came on late, we do have last week's session. So we will email this to you. As long as you're commenting and making comments, we will email you out last week's session. And we will also email you out this week's session. So make sure we have your email. Make sure we have your contact information so we can get this emailed out to you. What we do is the series and the things that we're discussing on tonight. What you'll be able to do is take this week and go over some of these things. So what do you need when you get your booklet? These are some of the things that you need. You're going to need to attend the Facebook weekly. Again, while you're on here, like and share, like and share. We want you to attend weekly because this is going to be an ongoing series that we're doing. We want you to have your transformation workbook. So, and we're putting this workbook together as we go. So this isn't anything you get before the session. You get this after you've attended the session. Come with your pen and paper. We want you to write some notes. And while I'm talking, if you have any questions, go ahead, put your questions in there, and I'll be answering your questions on tonight. Bring supplies. If you have art supplies, when you are working in these booklets, you will need art supplies. Access to the internet. Get you a good Bible. Get you a good Bible. And I'm going to tell you some of the things for those who of us who were not maybe raised in church or whatever, and you find that the King James may be a little bit difficult to understand. Get you a children's Bible. It's called I believe it's called IBC or ICB. ICB, and it's the International Children's Bible. It really helps break things down. So get you. Thank you, Jamie. We'll get that over to you. Get you a children's Bible. So when we're talking about these principles, that it makes sense to you and it's easy to you. Go ahead and put your questions in the chat. I'll be answering your questions on tonight. Whether that question is ministry, whether that question is business, you can put your questions in there. Those of you who are from different locations, will you share your locations with us? Just when I say location, I mean just state. What state are you interacting with us from? So we would love to know what state we're reaching as well. So let's talk about some of these changes. When we talk about change, we talk about that there's going to be a psychological change. When you're building foundation and you find that you're changing, you're increasing, your psychological mindset is going to change. That's what psychological is dealing with your mind and changing your mind. The more you educate yourself, and when I say educate, I mean reading and even listening to inspiring words. St. Louis, thank you, Orlando. From St. Louis, I see Mississippi people on here. I believe I have someone else from St. Louis on here as well. So psychology, your mindset, emotional readiness. Make sure that you're emotionally ready for change. If you have some things, if you've been in relationships that some unforgiveness is going on there, let that stuff go. I'm not talking about just people relationship. Some people have been in business relationship. Some people have been on job relationship, and people did things to you that wasn't nice, and you still remember, and you're still bitter about that. Well, let me talk about the word bitter. What is bitter? Because sometimes we don't know we still bitter. Bitter is when we still telling the story over and over because we need somebody to know our side. And if you're still telling the story that happened 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 2 weeks ago, you bitter about that because you want somebody to know your side. Let me tell you what happened. Set it free. Let it go. So when things come, I've had things happen to me that I wasn't happy about. So, and I'm going to tell you what I did. I'm going to tell you there's a process that you can do. What the first thing you want to do is forgive and set them free. So I'm going to give you some homework again. Whatever, Michigan, thank you, Michigan, for being in the house with us on tonight. Write it down. If you got fired from a job, write it down. I got fired from Walmart. I got fired from the tech company. I got fired from Ross department store. I got fired from TJ Maxx. Write it down. If someone's name is attached to it, Miss Johnson fired me. Dr. Sue let me go. Whatever their name is. And when you read that name off, when I was in the 5th grade, Patricia pulled my hair. Patricia, my friend. Patricia pulled my hair. What I want you to do is write those things down and say, I forgive and I set them free. I forgive and I set them free. Because this is about you. If you're going to build a strong foundation, we got to get all these things right. We got to get our mind together. We got to get our emotions together. Because if you have bitterness, tired in you, and unforgiveness, you're going to take that into everything you do. You'll be in business making bad decisions, trying to figure out why you're making that bad decision. Because you bitter. Because Miss Joe let you go. Miss Joe fired you, and that's what you remember. Let it go. I forgive it. Write your list. And before you go to bed tonight, call Miss Joe name. Miss Joe fired me. I forgive you, and I set you free. set them free. Let that go. Some of the other things that's going to happen with change. Let's embrace change. Let's be excited about change. Maybe it's time to move out of grandmama's basement and move into your own apartment. Let's embrace the change. If you got put out by your grandmama and mother and them, and they all put you out saying, it's time to move out on your own, and maybe you was mad at one time. Maybe you and your ex broke up or whatever, and you was mad at one time. Stop being mad about it. This is a good time for change. This is a good time for change. It's 2023. It's a good time for change. Count it as a blessing. The Bible said, count it all good. It's going to work out in your favor. I promise you, it's going to work out in your favor. You got to change your perspective. Someone said that in the chat. Change the angle or how you're looking at it. And what is change the angle? Change how you see it. Change how you see it. I remember I was listening to a story. And this man said there was two sons and they was raised by the same father. And so they asked, and one son was doing well and one son was not doing well. And so they asked the son that wasn't doing well, why are you not doing well? Why are you struggling? And he said, well, if you were raised by the father I was raised by, you would understand. And then they went and they asked the son that was doing well. They said, well, why are you doing so well? You're doing great. You're prospering. Why are you doing so well? And he said the same thing. If you were raised by the father I was raised by, you'd understand. So what did one son get that the other son didn't get? Perspective. Change your perspective on how you do things and how you see things. And number one thing that I'm going to encourage you to do, and y'all, our time is running short. Number one thing is take responsibility for you. Take 100% responsibility. I remember when my mom was alive, when we were children, if we would come and say, well, Rosie did it, well, Tina did it, she said, take responsibility. Take responsibility. And so that's all I'm saying to you is take responsibility. And I've taken that on into adulthood. If you broke something, take responsibility. And if you can fix it, fix it. And if you can't, ask God to forgive you and ask God to fix it. But take responsibility. Well, this happened because, I messed up. I got fired from that job because I was coming in late every day. Take responsibility. And the more you find that you take responsibility, especially as leaders, you're going to take responsibility for other people below you. And that's what leadership is. Leadership is saying the people that's below me, I'm responsible for these people. If you're the male or you're the female or you're the head of your home, you are responsible for some people. If you're a mother, you're responsible for some people. If you're a father, you are responsible for some people. If God is telling you it's time to be the evangelist, the missionary, the pastor, you are responsible for some people. So it's important that you're strong mentally. It's important that you're strong emotionally. It's important that your physical health is together, because if you're not together, how you going to be responsible for a group of other people when you ain't got you together? It's time to take, as we read the Bible, it's time to take dominion over everything, and especially our mind, especially our thoughts, and see things from the positive. Start thinking positive things. I wake up, I'm positive about everything. Even when it don't look good, I can find some positivity in it. Find some positivity in it. So, one lady was talking about with the storm, she lost her home, and she said, but thank God I had insurance. So, she lost everything. But when she on the news, she said, thank God none of my family members died. Thank God even the dog's still alive. But more importantly, thank God I had some insurance. So let's read some of these comments over here. What do a person have to do to move forward and upward when the chains are situational? When the chain, and you have to give me a little bit more error when you say the chain are situational. So the first thing to move forward is move forward up here. I want you to move your thoughts forward. I want you to move how you think on a higher level, how you process stuff on a higher level. If it's different than that, then we can chat offline a little bit more if you want to. But this is the thing. Before you can make change, what do you want to change to? As we talked about the foundation earlier, before you can build the foundation, you got to know what you want. Do you want a house? Do you want a mall? Do you want 3 bedrooms? Do you want 10 bedrooms? You can't build a foundation until you know what you want. And so you can't move upward and you can't move forward until you know exactly what you want. Okay, so my question, if nothing changes with you, then nothing changes. Exactly, Jamie. If you don't change anything, nothing changes. As they say, you can't expect to do the same thing and think there's going to be change. That's insanity. It's true. You can't do the same thing and think something is going to change. It's not. That's insanity. Yes. Yes, for our own responsibility, your own actions. Absolutely, Rosie. Take responsibility for your own actions. Now, we all done messed up. I tell people I learned to deal with finances because I messed up with my finances. So I learned to be good and a good steward because I messed up. And after messing up so many times, I became a good steward. I wasn't always a good steward with my finances, but after messing up and taking responsibility, if your lights off, you've done something. If your gas off, you've done something. If they're not having a state or a community or a county outage, then you haven't paid the bill. Then there's a reason you haven't paid the bill. And take responsibility for not paying the bill. And then, as we said, figure out, what am I going to do that this does not happen again? And that's what we got to do, work on this not happening again. Okay, it is 8:44. Orlando, say it. I'm loving this. Orlando, thank you. We are glad to have you on board. Do you have any questions for us? I thought I saw our CEO come in, but she may have had to step out for a minute. These are some wonderful questions. So anyone else have any additional questions they would like to ask? Okay, another change, overcoming barriers. There are some barriers. We can be on our job, and one of the barriers that they had before COVID was you had to have a degree. Before you can move up into management, you had to have a degree. That's a huge barrier, isn't it? Well, guess what? A lot of these companies now are not saying that you have to have a degree. They're saying, we want you to stay so bad, even if you don't have a degree, we want you to stay with this company. We'll make you a manager, whether you have a degree or not. But this is what I'm going to tell you, especially as Christian believers. For us, we don't need degrees all the time for everything. It takes integrity. It takes honesty. It takes being a good steward. And all of these things, you have a father that you can go to and say, God, I don't have a degree. I'm not the smarter than the most, but what I am and what I do have is I have integrity. I have respect. I'm a good person. God, place me where I should be. If my goal is to make $100,000, God got a place for you that you can make $100,000 without working for a Ford Motor Company. Everybody don't have to work for the airlines to make $100,000. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to be a chemist. You don't have to do all these things. God has a place for you. If it's the desire of your heart, God said, I'll withhold no good thing from you. If it's a good thing and you my child and you want it, you can have it. But you got to position yourself to get it. You got to have a good foundation. That means you got to educate yourself. So maybe you're not going to get that on a 9-to-5 job. But God said, if you go do this business, I keep telling you, you'll make $1 million. You'll make $100,000. The financial increase is because it hasn't come because you've not done anything differently. I think Jamie said it. If you don't do anything differently, change is not going to come. If you want to see change, do something differently. Yes, you can make $1 million a year. Yes, you can make $500,000 a year. Yes, you can make $100,000 a year. But if what you've been doing for the last 5 years haven't gotten you to 100,000, haven't gotten you to 500,000, then that means you got to do something different. And earlier tonight, we were talking about digging deeper. So maybe you got let's say you got a baking business. If you've been baking and all you've been baking is cookies, and you say, well, I'm making $200,000 a year, but I really want to get up to $400,000 a year, then you got to dig deeper. So when we talk about dig deeper, that means you're going to have to start baking some cakes. That means you're going to have to start baking some cupcakes. So cookies not cutting it. So there's something else inside of you. Maybe there's a cookbook inside of you. Take time and write the cookbook. You got $1 million idea, but you got to put it in place. You got $1 billion idea, but you got to put it in place. And there, I'm talking about a series later on called laziness. And sometimes we just lazy. And when I say lazy, I'm not talking about we just in the bed because we don't want to do nothing. No, I'm talking about we lazy because we don't want to dig deeper. We don't want to go deeper. We don't want to make those sacrifices. That's the laziness I'm talking about. And if you want that $100 business, that $1 million business, or $100,000 or $200,000, that means you got to do more than what you've been doing. You're going to have to go real deep. For those of you who didn't see my shovel earlier, I got the big shovel. When I first started out, I had this little shovel. When I first started my business, first started looking into doing ministry, I could deal on the shallow. But where I'm going now is deeper than that. It's deeper than that. So I had to get a bigger shovel, and I got these for my demonstration purposes. Now, when I see it with my spiritual eyes, the shovel is huge. We may as well go get one of those big forklifter things, or whatever they call for digging. That's what I see. So see yourself in your spiritual eyes. And how do you see yourself? Then you should be going real deep in your spiritual eyes. You shouldn't be using, if this is how you see yourself, I need you to go pray tonight and say, Jesus, show me something else, because I'm better than this. You better than this. You're bigger than this. Now, if you pass 30 years old, you are bigger than this. You bigger than this. All right. So I want you to dream big. I want you to desire big. I want you to focus big. I want you to dig deep. There is a foundation. Go back and rebuild your foundation after today. There's something grand in you. God got something big for you, but you're going to have to dig, and dig deep. It's there. And there's some other stories in the Bible. I'm just giving you all these stories. Again, you all make sure we get your email address so we can get this ebook in your hand. We're going to give you the last 2 weeks of ebooks. It's free, just for you participating. We want you to participate. As long as you put a comment in, we will get this email book over to you free. Okay. But it's some good study material so that you can study the next 5 days. And it's 5 days at a time. So you got to come on every Thursday at 7 p.m. and invite somebody else so that you can get your ebook. My time is drawing close, and I'm not sure if my CEO is on here, if she's able to hop back on. So Dr. Washington, you can let us know if you're able to hop back on. She's working on some other things. So we have about 10 more minutes. Do I have anyone else that have any questions, any comments that you would like to share? Go ahead and share. And this is going to be re-aired, so you can go back and visit this as well. And we just want you to leave with some wonderful, wonderful stuff. Do we have anyone else with questions? Is it Arkisha? Arkisha, thank you for joining. Can you tell us what state you're joining us from? We appreciate you jumping on as well. So if you're going to be digging deep this week and you're going to be doing something different, can you say, I will be digging deep, digging deep? Can you in the comments say, I will be digging deep? Hi, Miss Teresa, Dr. Washington. Nice to see you on here. I know your schedule is super tight, so we're excited to have you on here tonight. Dig deep, dig deep, dig deep. So again, in your comments, if you're planning on digging deep, we want you to put in the comments, dig deep. I am going to dig deep. I am going to dig deep. Go ahead and add that to the comments. I am going to dig deep. Okay, let's see what we got here. Great information. Love all the good information. I will be digging deep. Awesome. Jamie is digging deep. Orlando is digging deep. Thank you guys for digging deep. I got Rose that said, I am digging deep. Teresa said, I am digging deep. Yes, there's some amazing stuff on the inside. And I promise you, when you dig deep and you tap into it, you're going to know you tapped into it. And because it's going to flow out like water. It will flow like, as the Bible says, living water. There is some living water on inside of you that needs to be released. And when that living water come out, the dreams, the vision, all of that will come forth. Everything God has designed you to be will come gushing out. Teresa said, I made my vision board into a notebook to carry with me. Teresa, that's awesome. That is an awesome idea. So those of you who travel, make those vision boards, into a notebook that you can carry. Era said deeper. She is going deeper. Go deeper, Era. Era, do change, make a change, do something different, make a change. For everybody on the line, if you've been talking about it for a while, it is time to make a change. Again, we're going to go back to that homework that I talked to you about earlier. Some things we got to release and we got to let it go. Go back all the way to your childhood. Every person, everything that hurt you from childhood, parents, jobs, neighbors, the dog bit you, whatever, write it down. Say, I forgive you and set it free. Say, I forgive you and set it free. And you'll be amazed how things just open up, how your perspective change. Learn to forgive swiftly, no matter what. You know, some things happen to me all the time. You know, when I say all the time, I'm a contractor. So I get no's a lot. You know, before I get a lot of yeses, I get a lot of no's. So I may put in for a contract and they say no. Well, I said, well, I forgive them, Lord, and I set them free. They didn't know any better. They don't know they need to do business with me. They want to do business with me. And that's how I want you to think. You want to do business with me. You want to be in partnership with me because we are children of God. Orlando, that's how you should be thinking. They want to do business with you. They want to be in your company. Why? Because you're a great person. You know, Dr. Washington, they want to be in business with Dr. Washington. Why? They want to be in her presence. Why? Because she's a wonderful person. Not only that, she's an amazing chef. So you want her at your house. I promise you do. But God has something amazing. Rosie, you know, people want to be in your company. Why? Because you help them grow. You encourage them. They want to be in your company. Jamie, you're just a wonderful person. You make people happy. You make them smile. They want to be in your company. They need to be in your company. If I'm having a bad day, I want to talk to someone that's going to draw out the best in me. Help draw out the best in me. And I promise you, the more you're around good people, the better we become. The more we're around strong people, the stronger we become. Just think about it. If you're around complainers, what you find yourself doing? Complaining. But if you're around good people and they happy, what you find yourself doing? You happy, you good. You really don't want to complain. It's like, these people so happy, I really don't even want to be over here complaining, because then you sound like a complainer. So change your group, change your network. So we talked about that. I believe that's in this session, is changing your network. Your network is who? The people you hang out with. If you're not growing, it's time to change your network. If you're not increasing, it's time to change your network. Get yourself around the people that you want to be. If you want to be a happier person, start hanging out with happier people. If you want to be an honest person, start hanging out with honest people. If you want to stop smoking, then hang around people that's not smoking. Because if you're around smokers, guess what? You're going to start wanting to smoke. I have a girlfriend who had kicked the habit of cursing, but the more she hung around people that was cursing, guess what she started doing? Cursing again. Why? Because it's her surrounding. It's your group. Change your group. Our time is drawing near. So what we're going to do, we only have a few more minutes. I'm going to go ahead and say a prayer for everyone on the line. So you all just pray with me. Let's empty our minds and just clear our minds and everything. Lord, we give you honor. We give you praise. We give you thanks, God, for all that you've done and all that you said, God. Open up every door, God. Teach us how to dig deep. In the name of Jesus, God, let us tap into those things that you have for us. Every gift, every talent, Lord, let it grow and let it flourish in the name of Jesus. Touch our mind, body, soul, and spirit, God, and let us increase our desire to be with you and be what you want us to be as never before, God. We give you honor, we give you praise, and we give you thanks, God. And for all that you've done for us, God, we say thank you, thank you, thank you. We show our gratitude and we show our appreciation. And this time tomorrow, God, help us to be better than who we are right now, God. Help us to dig deep, God, deep, 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 deep. In the name of Jesus, we pray and we say it is so. And we say amen and amen. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. We see that our CEO is coming on. Give her a few minutes and she will close us out on tonight. I believe she's almost here. Give us just a few more minutes. Okay, Dr. Washington, are you able to chat? Okay. She said, Dr. Washington, okay, there she is. Give her a few minutes, guys, and we're getting her on. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. Okay, I think she's...
to go ahead and close it out. The reception is really bad here.
Okay, so we're closed out. We're done. We've said our prayer and everything. So you can go ahead and end our live. All right, everyone. We are saying good night. She is working on this reception and getting us closed out. Good night. And we pray that you have a wonderful evening.